Good afternoon, my loves. Welcome to Maverick Baking and welcome to the first episode in a brand new series we are perhaps uncreatively calling Desserts of the World. In this series, I want to open up my baking and dessert eating repertoire to countries all over the world without having to leave my own kitchen. And I'll admit it did take me a little while to decide which country we should start with in this new kind of experimental series of ours. But eventually I settled on the idea of starting somewhere almost as far away as possible from my comfort zone in terms of flavors, in terms of location, and in terms of cultures and traditions. So today, folks, we begin Desserts of the World with India. It's one of the largest and most populous countries on the entire planet, with close to 2 billion inhabitants, speaking many languages and practicing many religions. To call India diverse would be a serious understatement. With a country as big and full of such a large number of people as India, it can be difficult to pinpoint a recipe that is relevant to everyone, something that has some kind of cultural or dietary significance for people across the country, not just in one particular city or one particular region. So while I was doing some online research and checking into what you guys had suggested, I found a recipe that seems to be as old as it is widespread in India. Today, I'm making and sharing with you guys a recipe for Kheer. As the ever old faithful Wikipedia tells us, Kheer, also known as Khiri, Payesh, Firni or Payasam in different areas of India, is a sweet dish popular across the whole country. It has apparently been first mentioned in ancient literature from thousands of years ago, depicting various formulas of the same ingredients as a kind of sweet dish. Of all of the available recipes and information online, I've been able to find about Kheer, the kind of foundation ingredients appear to be rice, milk, and sugar, or even just a grain with milk and sugar. I've seen recipes for Kheer made with lentils, made with vermicelli, made with short grain or long grain rice. And I guess this is such a widespread dish across the country of India, not only because of the simplicity of its ingredients, but also the accessibility of its ingredients. And while it may not be the most glamorous, intricate, or show-stopping of desserts to display on the international stage, it's one that appears to be of collective history and relevance across the country. The typical flavourings in Indian Kheer are cardamom and occasionally saffron and rosewater as well. Very, very subtle, but very precious spices in your spice cabinet. But without further ado, let's get into the first recipe of this new series of Desserts of the World and try some Indian Kheer. I began my kheer by preparing the grains. I decided to use basmati rice, which appears to be more of a tradition in the kind of northern regions of India. I'm used to making rice pudding with short grain rice, so this was interesting. Anyway, I rinsed the rice until it was clear and then soaked it for half an hour just in some cold water. Meanwhile, I heated up about 1 litre of full-fat milk just over a very low heat, stirring it occasionally so it didn't burn. Then I prepared very excitedly my saffron flavouring. I have never actually cooked with saffron before. I've tasted and eaten it before, but getting to work with this very precious spice was very exciting. All I kind of did with the saffron was just take a few of these beautiful kind of ruby orange strands and just added a little bit of that heated milk to it, just to gently bring out the flavour without scalding or burning it. And while the saffron was softly steeping, I drained the soaked rice and just gently stirred it into the milk. Again, stirring it occasionally, but mostly just leaving it to do its thing for 15 minutes. Meanwhile, I prepared the other kind of main flavouring of our kheer, which is green cardamom. I've cooked with cardamom many times in savoury dishes, but never in sweet dishes, though I know it is very common. You begin by rather unprofessionally cracking open these green pods to unveil the teeny tiny little black seeds inside. Now, of course, these seeds should then be ground either in a spice grinder or with a mortar and pestle. All I had was this oversized food processor. So I blitzed it up just until we had this kind of dusty cardamom texture. Not a full proper powder, but also no big obnoxiously chunky bits because no one likes biting straight into cardamom seeds. To this I added just a small amount of sugar because this really isn't a kind of sweet dessert, it's a very gently flavoured one. And the smell Folks, I cannot tell you how good this smells. I then stirred this into the rice and milk mixture, just gently leaving it to simmer away for another 15 minutes, stirring occasionally. Meanwhile, the kind of final additions I got together, I chopped up some blanched almonds and some pistachios. You can toast these if you like, or you can leave them plain. And once your rice and milk have been cooking together with the sugar for those extra 15 minutes, add the nuts and also add your lovely flavoured saffron milk and just a little small handful of dried fruit such as sultanas or raisins. Then just give everything a little stir and cook it gently for a further 2 to 3 minutes just to get everything nice and soaked in together. Any recipe for kheer seems to be quite forgiving in that if you like it kind of thinner or if you like it thicker, you can adjust either the ratio of milk or the cooking time. But I then just moved my lovely cooked mixture into a bowl and chilled it overnight. And then in the morning, when I was ready to eat my lovely cold chilled kheer, I chopped up some more blanched almonds and some toasted pistachios, just chunky, not quite as fine as we'd done before ladling our lovely rice pudding mixture into some bowls, ready to top with those chopped nuts and with some more lovely raisins, both for colour, texture, and of course, some flavour. And I was delighted to see once it was finished that this bowl of kheer seemed to resemble so many other kind of dishes from the Indian subcontinent in that they looked very regal, simple but so jewel-like in the decoration, so simple but so balanced. I believe this dish can be eaten warm, room temperature, or chilled. It was a very hot day when I tasted it, so I decided to give it as much time as possible and enjoy it beautiful and cold, and it was delicious. Smooth, creamy, so wonderfully balanced with the spices, gentle and yet kind of rich and very fancy feeling at the same time. I love this dish and I hope you guys will as well.